but at least that lets people in. Hello, everyone. We have about half the number of attendees that we're expecting, so a bunch more are still coming. We'll wait out around a couple more minutes, so if people want to grab a drink and some popcorn, they can.
Funny to see. I know Kristen's there, but we can't see her.
I promise I'm here.
It's a little spooky.
Sort of had a ghost icon for you, or something, or something.
Right.
All right. So I guess we can kick off. I think if people join us, that's fine, and we have a big audience on YouTube that'll watch later, so it's okay. So I will introduce, I guess. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Dr. Caplan, and I'll be the host for this evening's discussion. Welcome to Dispensary Highlights with Curaleaf, Massachusetts. Tonight's a real treat, not only to have a special introduction to the dispensary and what goes on into their impressive products, but also a mix of an open forum Q&A session and a chance for us all to get to know Curaleaf and take a little peek behind the curtain. What's more, this and all of our webinars are also meant to be a place to learn about benefits of cannabis, you know, the kinds of perspectives and hard work that goes into the behind the scenes story of a successful dispensary, and any other cannabis topics that, you know, our audience is curious about. You know, you have the opportunity to ask whatever you'd like. I mean, personally, Curaleaf, Massachusetts, I know, is the subsidiary of an incredible multi-state operating company with the same name. And tonight we're going to kick things off with an introduction. And for those of us who are here live, feel free to submit questions either in the Q&A section or the chat. And we'll have some questions coming in through Twitter and Instagram and our other social media channels. But this evening, really happy to introduce Christina Rivera, the marketing manager at Curaleaf.
Bye.
So have Jacob Gayette, who's a master in the cultivation department.
How's it going?
Kristen AC, who is our resident ghost for this evening.
Hello, everybody.
So why don't you guys take it off?
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine. I'm the marketing and outreach manager in Massachusetts. We're so excited that everyone is signed on and ready to see a little insight of Curaleaf and ask us any Q&A you may have. So from here, I'll kick it off to Kristen, and we'll give you a little introduction and sneak peek of what it looks like to check in to check out with us.
Hi, everybody. Sorry you can't see me. I apologize. My camera is not working at the moment. So, you know, when you first enter a dispensary, you are checked in by our admissions desk. You do need a patient card to enter the building, as well as a valid US ID. And we always try and make every new patient feel very welcome. We give you a tour of the dispensary. We do have you fill out some patient intake forms. We will go over the menu with you and also give you a private consultation for your first visit. And then any of our bud tenders will go over the menu with you and any products that we have available. And then on the adult use side, to enter the building, you just need a valid US ID. And then, the bud tenders will also go over the menu with you, any products and questions that you have. Does anyone have any questions on anything for entering the building, or any questions on becoming, a patient for the first time at a dispensary? No, okay. All of our bud tenders are very knowledgeable. They will go over a lot of the products with you. We have many different products available, including flower, pre-rolls, tinctures, and capsules. We have a wide variety of edibles as well. And those are both available on adult use and the medical side. We have a lot of vapes as well. This picture here shows some vape products that we do carry, including Yuku and Select. Select is new to our dispensary. So we do have a lot, very wide variety, a wide variety of products that are available at all of our dispensaries. And all of the bud tenders are very patient and knowledgeable. They will answer any questions that you do have in regards to any products that you're going to be taking. It's actually a great perk to become a medical patient. On the adult use side, you do pay a 20% tax. And on the medical side, there are no taxes. It's tax-free, so you pay what the price says on the menu. For new patients and any patients that continue to come see us, we do have a lot of perks and sales. We have a loyalty program where you earn $1 for every $20 that you spend. And that works just like cash. So you can use it to bring down the price of any of the purchases that you have with us. And we also have sales on almost a daily basis. We have different variety, different products that are on sale weekly. And they tend to be the same every week. So if you like a certain product, if you like tinctures or wax or droppers, we do have those sales on a weekly basis for you. We do offer credits as well. So we do have renewal credits. Once you renew to become a patient yearly, we will give you $200 off. And that equals four visits with $50 off, as long as you spend $100 or more. So if you spent $100, that $50 renewal credit would bring you down to $50 for your visit for that day. We also have compassion programs as well. Anyone who is a Mass Health member or can prove that they are on some type of assistance, we will give 10% off. And that is a permanent discount that never goes away. So you prove that once and you get 10% off as long as you're a patient at Curaleaf. Veterans discounts vary from 10%. We also have a 22% and a 40% discount, depending on what type of veteran you are. Completely disabled veterans receive between 40 and 100% off. But most veterans do receive 22% off. We do industry day discounts as well for RMD agents. We do 20% off all purchases on Mondays. And then for any pediatric patients that we have, they receive a permanent 30% discount as well. So, it's very beneficial to become a medical patient. We have a lot of different perks and products and sales that we are able to discount a lot of products for you. And we have a very wide variety of products available on the medical side. In regards to products, we do have quite a few gummies and edibles available. For right now, we do have Select and Curaleaf gummies available. They come in 4 different kinds. So the Select Classic gummies, Curaleaf Classic, Nano, and then soon to be chocolate gummies coming as well. The Select and the Select Classic and the Select Nano gummies are new to Curaleaf. We just received them a few weeks ago. And the Nano gummies have a little bit of a faster effect than the Classic gummies will have. And then we also received the Curaleaf Classic gummies as well, and we have those available in 3 flavors right now. All are very delicious, and they are all come in 5 milligrams. So each gummy is going to be 5 milligrams a piece. And each container comes with 20 gummies, equaling 100 milligrams per container.
All right, I guess this is where I will take over a little bit. So I'm one of many cultivators. My name is Jacob Guyette. Basically, we grow everything from seed. You have to be at least 21, and depending on how many people you have in the household, it's 6 to 12 plants. Indoor versus outdoor growing is pretty simple. It's basically you have more control indoor. As far as outdoor goes, you don't really have any control. It's all environmental. You're subject to the animals and everything like that. Life cycle, you're looking at seedlings, then you move to veg. You got about 2 to 8 weeks in veg, and then you're at full control there. And once you switch to flower, it's a little different. It's pretty much the end cycle. Your plant's gonna die, you gotta cut it down.
Hang on, Jacob, can you, so, you know, you're much more knowledgeable than most of our audience. Can you talk a little bit more about when you say veg and flower, what does that mean?
So veg stage is before, it's based off like your life cycle basically. So before you flip it to flower, you can kind of control like your size, how you want the plant to look, how big it's going to get and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And is that vary from plant to plant, or is that sort of standard across the whole species?
It varies a little bit. It depends on your strain. You got indicas, sativas, hybrids, stuff like that. So it's all subject on what you purchase as far as seeds go, and whether you're doing CBD, THC, something like that.
Awesome, thanks. Actually, I have a question that I often get from patients. You know, a lot of patients love the smell of cannabis. You know, of course, there's this whole crazy cohort in the world that thinks the smell of cannabis is bad, but there's also a wonderful group of people that think it's quite lovely.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are a big fan of the aroma. It kind of depends. Like some people just say it's skunky, and then once you get past that, it's people can find it, like they can find the citrus in it or the fruity flavors. So it all depends on how in depth you really get into it. Smelling
this cannabis as you're growing all day long, are you intoxicated all day long smelling this, or?
No, the smell should have no effect on you. Some people, if they touch the plant, they'll get a little itchy, but other than that, the smell shouldn't do anything.
Sounds good. Sorry, carry on.
No, that was perfect. Other than that, there's just kind of like, if you really want to control during veg, you're gonna look for like maintenance style of things, like low stress training, which is basically just how you bend the plant a certain way, how you manipulate the plant, and it's up to you how the plant is going to grow at that stage.
Hang on, that's some juicy stuff. If you're bending the plants, what happens? Or if you're not bending it, what happens?
So you kind of trick the plant into thinking it lost a limb or it lost a branch. And then after that, it will either replace it or it'll grow off of said branch. And you can kind of make it into a bush rather than have it grow straight up like you see in that picture. So
just to clarify, because this is good stuff, certainly for me, but for the other audience. So if you have a plant that's naturally going straight up, if you bend it, you can get it to grow more wide as opposed to just straight up?
Yes, so you can do what's called topping, which is where if you look at that picture, you can remove the very top layer and all the growth underneath will expand out and it'll become more of a bush. Or you can bend it and without removing it, and it'll also do the same thing, but the branch you bent will actually slowly come back.
And that's kind of that as far as production and flower goes?
So you're gonna get more of a yield that way. And sometimes you can even increase like your resin production and your THC production just by getting the plant a little stressed.
All right, awesome. I'll stop interrupting. It's just
good. No, that's actually perfect. I need like a little back and forth going there.
Oh, good. Is that you, by the way, in the picture?
Yes, that is me actually. That's in our bedroom. So there can be up to like 4,000 plants in there.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed you're wearing probably not the most stylish head covering I've ever seen.
Yes, we have to hide our beard and our hair from so we can't have any, I guess, hair particles get into the plant, because then it will travel to flower and then it will travel to the customers, and it's not really what you want.
Mm-hmm. And you're wearing gloves, it looks like. Can you talk
mandatory gloves?
Can you talk about the sort of safety safeguards and the cleanliness that's involved in the grow?
Yeah, so based off of basically the way we do things is if you're going into a room, you either have to re-scrub, which is the outfit I'm wearing there, and you have to wear gloves, you have to wear the hair net and the beard net, and even like down to the shoes. So we actually wear Crocs when we're in there. So it's pretty in depth on what we're putting on just to work with the plant.
And the end goal is to achieve what?
The cleanest product we can get to the customers as possible.
Okay, awesome.
As far as like home growing tools and stuff, all you really need is you have your lights, you have like the pots of the plants in, the cocoa or the whatever medium you're using, which is like a soil. But you also are going to want like scissors, and that's going to come into when you like defoliate and all that. You want to semi often defoliate and let the light penetrate to certain parts of the plant. And then once you get your desired plant, you're going to get towards like the harvest, which is, like I said, the end cycle of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you kind of use like a magnifying glass to pay attention to the trichomes that are coming off that plant. And once they get to like a milky, like almost amber color, that's when you know it's ready to cut down. And then after that, you just kind of cut the whole plant, hang it. It becomes preference at this point. There's many ways to do it, but I like to hang it and just let it dry out.
And if you want tons of flowers, you want a huge plant, do you keep the lights on 24/7?
Actually, I prefer, so at our grow, we'll do a 20-hour, 4 off. We'll give them 4 hours of light off, so that's a lot. But at my house, I like to do it 18/6, which is 18 hours on, 6 off. It's all, again, preference at that point, but you have to be at least about 18, 16 hours before, otherwise you're going to flower it too soon. And then you won't get what your desired plant size would be or anything like that. If it goes in too early, you're not going to get the yield you're looking for.
And how do you know what those timings are? Is that trial and error? Is that just your experience as a grower?
It's a little bit of both. You can do a lot of research on it if you need to, but as far as how I learned is I learned the hard way in the beginning, went through a lot of like issues growing outdoors. And then I realized indoors you have a lot of control. So that's where I kind of went to the 18/6, control how big I wanted the plant to be. And then you can switch it to the 12/12 cycle, which is where you get flower. And then after that, it just kind of does its thing. As long as you have the right climate and you give it the right food, you're going to get the product you want.
Does Curaleaf do any outdoor grows, or is it all indoor?
This Curaleaf only does indoor.
Awesome.
Okay, I think that's what we had for our PowerPoint presentation, and we'll let you take it on from there, Dr. Caplan.
Okay, yeah, so we have tons of questions waiting to be asked. First of all, favorite features of the dispensary for you guys and as insiders. What are the kinds of things that you think stand out, I guess, about Curaleaf?
You know, at the dispensary level, I think our variety of flower makes us stand out from everybody else. We try and keep our flower prices very low, especially when we're selling our own Curaleaf flower. So that is something that we, pride ourselves on, especially at the dispensary level. In regards to adult use, we've opened 3 adult use locations in the last year. So, we all have the same look, the same brand, and we try and, have all of our bud tenders be just as knowledgeable as the others. So when you go to different Curaleaf locations, it's like you're visiting the same one over and over again. So we really try and streamline all of our education and all of our looks to be the same, which is something I think that we pride ourselves on, especially in the retail team.
I was curious about that, actually. What goes into the training of the employees? Do they have courses that they're taking? Are they observing other people? Is it some combination of the bunch?
It's a combination of both. We do a lot of observation, especially in the first weeks of people working at our dispensary. We do a lot of, point of sale training as well as education and product training as well. We like to make sure that all of our bud tenders are very knowledgeable and know what they're talking about before they go to the sales floor. So that is something that we do. And then we also have state required training as well that we have to take to be a RMD agent. So we do have quite a few different trainings that we do go through before, bud tenders hit the sales floor.
Awesome. So we have a couple questions coming in. The first here looks like is every product or batch tested before it's sent out to the dispensary for customer use?
Absolutely. We make sure we take a certain portion of every harvest, I guess you would say, and we ship it out. And we also do an in-house test as well.
Awesome. And the next question, and for people who don't know, the Massachusetts regulatory system is so strict. There's a reasonable fence that, we might call organic as far as food quality goes. There's no dirt, there's no bacteria, mold, there's nothing that's heavy metals or doesn't belong there. And that normal fence, Massachusetts takes close to 1,000-fold more, and really is much more protective of our constituents, our patients here than any other state. California is trying to chase us. They've changed their regulations the last couple of years to be as strict or close to us, but nobody's caught up yet. Second question here, what are some of the other brands that you guys sell that support other small local growers and makers? This person asks, saying she's noticed on the website and just curious about what other small growers you guys support.
We do purchase a lot of products from third-party vendors. We especially like to try and go as local as possible. Some of our edibles that we do purchase are from a brand called Coastal Edibles. And they are a local company from Massachusetts. It's a husband and wife that own the company. And they have, just a couple employees plus themselves. And they make absolutely delicious chocolate bars that are very popular in both of the locations that I manage. As well as all the other locations through Massachusetts. So we do our best to support very, mom and pop like dispensaries that are in Massachusetts. And we try and build great relationships with them so that we can sell their products in the stores.
Awesome, thanks. Another question coming in. Do you have any clinicians at the dispensaries to provide any drug cannabis interactions?
We do not have any doctors directly related to our dispensaries. We are not medical professionals, so we are not allowed to, give medical advice or recommend any specific doctor. So we direct people towards a website that they can visit to visit medical marijuana doctors in Massachusetts, but we don't try and recommend too much medical advice because of the regulations that we do have to follow.
If only there was someone who could help out in that department. All right, other questions. So this one's pretty low-hanging fruits. What are the typical people that come to Curaleaf as far as ages, demographics, locations in Massachusetts? If someone is rather elderly, are they going to see mostly young people there? Like who's coming to these dispensaries?
On the adult use side, I would say our average age is between 25 and 35. We do have a younger demographic that does come through, but we do see all ages, all walks of life that come through our doors. On the medical side, it does tend to be an older clientele. We do have a lot of elderly patients that do come through our doors. We also have younger patients that come through as well. But on the medical side, it does tend to be an older clientele that does come through the door.
Awesome. Christina, at the beginning, you mentioned that you guys have private consultations. This question we got was about what are the supports available for new people or people who are experienced with cannabis? Does the private consultation teach someone sort of what to do, or how to, if there aren't physicians or clinicians on site, how does that consultation look to someone who's new to cannabis?
Yeah, that's, I'll let Kristen speak a little bit upon that, but what I can say is that's kind of what I was questioning when I first started here in March. I was like, well, how does that work? But each dispensary has a nice little room that's private. If people have coming in for the first time, they can come in and sit down with a bud tender and kind of go over their diagnosis, if they've liked, actually smoking cannabis, or if they want to try something different, and they'll suggest different products based on, how quickly they're looking to get the effect, how long lasting they're looking to get the effect, and how they want to kind of ingest it. And they can make recommendations based on people who have, similar diagnoses, what things they kind of like, and go from there if they're looking for a higher or a smaller dosage, and kind of work around that. And I think Kristen can kind of speak upon those because she's probably done them in her dispensary as well.
Yeah, like Christina said, we do have private rooms in all of our medical facilities, and you can spend up to, you can spend as much time as you'd like in there asking any of our employees any questions that you have. That time is your time to ask, questions about the medication that you will be taking. So we have patients who will spend, 5 to 10 minutes in there, and others who will spend up to an hour. So there really is no time limit, and no question should ever go unasked. So anything that you do have questions about or you're uneasy about, that's your time to ask us. And even if you think of questions after the fact, you are able to call the dispensary or come in, and we'd be more than happy to, answer any questions that you have.
And I can say
it's
everyone.
actually very similar.
Oh, sorry. I can say is everyone is really friendly, and they're really passionate about what they do. I think when you see any kind of dispensary you're passing by, you're not sure. There's kind of like a stigma of what you think it looks like and who's really in there. And then when you walk into one of our dispensaries and you see the beautiful display and everyone's there, you got people of all kinds of walks of life, like Kristen said, who are purchasing, but also working there. So you don't have to feel like you're walking in and there's only a certain person that, what you think is going to look like that's going to help you. You can have someone older, younger, someone with tattoos, a mom, a dad, a grandparent. We love seeing people from all parts of their life. That's who we are. And we want to offer, the same kind of support to everyone. So I can say every time I've walked in, that's what I get. And I was really intimidated walking in for the first time. I was scared. I was like, oh my God, like, what am I walking into? And, they make it super friendly, and everyone there walks in, they have a smile on their face. They're passionate about cannabis. They're passionate about breaking the stigma. So, come in, see what we have to offer. I can let you know you're not going to be disappointed. You're going to feel confident and comfortable. And that's where we're building, confident around cannabis consumption.
Interesting. Jacob, is it like that in the grow community too, the cultivators? Is it sort of all business, or are folks, pretty happy and enjoying what they're doing?
Yeah, everyone's pretty happy. It's a very casual workplace as long as everyone's on task. There's nothing really to worry about as long as like you get your job done. So we got a lot of different people in there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So another question here: when growing flower, I guess this is for you, Jacob. Do different strains react differently to light cycles? And can you explain some of the differences in strains as well as why terpenes matter so much?
So generally, all strains respond the same to light cycle. If you're growing on your own, you might come into some plants where the seed is finicky or something like that. And then as far as like the differences in strain, that can be as far as like, I can go from phenotypes, which is basically like if you grow 10 of the same seed, you might have 10 different plants. It's all going to basically be the same terpene wise, but they might vary in the way they grow. They might stay short, they might get tall, they might produce a little more THC, they might produce more CBD. And then the terpenes, all preference. That's basically, again, like if you like citrus, you might grow the specific pheno or that specific strain for that.
Interestingly, just for our discussion, I think the future of cannabis is going to be really much more a look away from major cannabinoids. I mean, we have a market now that's mostly THC and CBD, partly because of the investors, who are trying to drive revenue. But as time goes on, as the medical community becomes a little bit more robust and confident, and or the patients standing up for themselves, there's actually a whole literature about terpenes and flavonoids as they relate to medical diagnoses. There's been tons of animal studies and bench science showing that certain terpenes have certain value toward certain treatments. And I think as time goes on, we're going to see an array of products at the dispensary which highlight those functions of this plant. You know, I often joke about the idea that, you know, that CBD and THC are the be all and end all is a little bit like going into CVS thinking that they only sell toothpaste and toilet paper. There's so much more to cannabis that we haven't really tapped into, that the infrastructure hasn't really tapped into, but we'll get there.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Just the beginning, agreed. Okay, another good question. Agricultural industries have a tremendous impact on our planet. And with Curaleaf growing larger, regarding sustainability, where does Curaleaf source their water? Do you compost? I would add to that, where is the electricity coming from? And what about packaging? You know, is sort of environmental consciousness part of the Curaleaf mentality?
I think they're definitely moving that way. We compost as much as possible from our soil or our medium, I guess, because we use cocoa. Our leaf product, all that gets ground up and thrown into a compost bin. And then as far as the water goes, that's more, we filter as much as possible to get the cleanest water. But other than that, I think it's coming from the town. That's not really something we can control so much.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I think, you know, I think as federal legalization is on the horizon, we're starting to hear that from some of the politicians talking. I think the whole world is going to change. The whole world in the United States is going to change. As far as regulations go, as far as cleanliness and environmental consciousness. Another question here, what about dosing? Is there a dose to start with? And is flower, vape, edibles similar or very different in how much you consume? You guys want to take this? I can certainly have a take too, but let's see what you guys have.
Well, every product does have a different dose that you should take, but you know, every dose affects everybody differently. So it really is up to you to figure out what dosing works for you. We use this the saying in the dispensary, low and slow to start. That means taking the least amount as possible and then working your way up to figure out what dose works for you. Flower and pre-rolls are pretty hard to dose just because you're smoking it. So you're going to take 1 or 2 hits and then you're going to feel it instantaneously. Tinctures and edibles are a little bit different. You ingest them and you have to wait for them to kick in, and it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours. So depending on the dose that you take, it could, you know, affect you greatly, and it could also go in the negative way and you would take too much. And, you know, we always try and say, you know, just go as, you know, as low and slow as possible, especially with edibles and tinctures. You don't want to take too much because then you'll never take it again. And that's not what we want. But yes, so every product does have a different dosing.
You know, interesting, just to chime in there. If someone has too much, you know, it's sort of starting to be more well known now, certainly than it was, you know, 2 or 3 years ago. But the way that CBD works in our brains can serve as a antidote. You know, THC in our brains binds CB1 receptors, which is where we feel the euphoria. For some people, that's not a match, or they feel uncomfortably different than they're used to feeling, and that can turn into paranoia or anxiousness, or, you know, just feeling uncomfortable. The way that CBD works is sort of like a mini Hulk, and it comes in and blocks those receptors to some extent. And if you have THC there, it can sometimes kick them off. And for other receptors, it can prevent other THC that's floating around from binding. So people can take CBD. It actually works beforehand to prevent binding, or you can mix it in with another product and basically turn the volume down, or you can take it afterwards to rescue. There are some other things actually in cannabis which do that same action. Limonene, the sort of citrus fruit smell, but also the action in our bodies. And there are some foods also. There's like a whole meal that you could have. Things like basil and pesto, dill, pine nuts, even celery and pistachios do this kind of action too. And some people have heard about black pepper. Also works similarly, as does caffeine. And some of the old wives' tales actually are true, that, you know, if you drink a lot of water, if you sleep it off, if you exercise, and certainly just wait, because all of the negative effects go away in short time too. Doctor session done. Any other questions here, or I can start pulling some? We have a few from social media. I guess I'll pull those. Okay. Oh, good one. What's the process for selecting products at Curaleaf? Do you guys throw darts on a board and see what happens? Are you taking patients' feedback, or how does picking the plants and the products happen?
Most of our products are based on patient feedback. So if we bring a product into the dispensary and it's very popular, we do our best to bring it back as soon as possible. Obviously, a plant takes quite a while to grow. So, if there's a product that needs a specific process and things like that, it does take a while to get back into the dispensary. But for the most part, if we can find that product, whether it be at our own grow or through a third-party vendor, then we do bring all of those products in. But I would say that patient feedback is absolutely our #1 way of basing what our menu is going to look like.
How do you get patients to give you feedback?
Well, on the medical side, we are able to track transactions, so we can see what patients are purchasing. So that does help us quite a bit. Also, we audit our inventory quite often, so we know what products are moving faster than others, and that does help us base, what our menu has on it.
Mm-hmm. Just to be clear, I think what you mean is not that you're tracking individuals and what they're consuming over time, but you take away the patient identifying information and look at the products that people pick. Am I right on that?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Some people get worried about Big Brother. I just want to make sure that's clear. Awesome. For folks who purchase products and have questions about them or have concerns about them or don't like a certain product, what options are available for them to communicate with some kind of customer service system?
We do take quite a few phone calls just like that on a daily basis. So if a patient is not happy with the product that they received, we'd be more than happy to, either exchange it for another product or return the product or work with them for their next purchase to make sure that they purchase a product that does work for them. On the adult use side, unfortunately, we do have much stricter regulations that we have to follow. But on the medical side, we do have quite a few ways for us to help that patient in returning that product and getting them something that does work for them.
Awesome. One of the interesting advantages that Curaleaf has is being a multi-state company. I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit about how that impacts you, or if at all. I imagine there's something that you learn from other states or from sort of overhead interstate management. But I have no idea. I'm curious if you could shed light.
Yep, all of our dispensaries do work differently. So, each state does have to follow different regulations. So we do have people that we work with from other states that know all the regulations from their state. We do work closely with other people that have gone to Connecticut. I do have someone that I used to work with that worked in Massachusetts who now works in Connecticut. So we do have a vast network of people that we talk to throughout Curaleaf to know what regulations are being used at the different dispensaries in different states.
Are they kept pretty isolated? I mean, I understand the regulations are different, and obviously you can't cross borders with cannabis. Do you guys cross for education or for exposure in different states to get to? Are there national company parties, or sort of how connected are these different Curaleaf locations?
Just from, a New England standpoint, I would say that the dispensaries throughout New England are pretty close. All of our employees, work well together, especially with our corporate office being here in Massachusetts. I think we have a great advantage in New England, bringing that education piece here. So, I don't know too much about, Curaleaf, Florida and Curaleaf, Arizona, but I do feel pretty confident on all of the Curaleafs in New England. So I would say the closer the states are, the closer that they work together.
Awesome. Well, they seem to be doing something right. I think Curaleaf is the largest cannabis organization in the country. You guys have that impression?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Largest in the world. Yes.
Well, all right. So good. Another question coming up. How do you guys set prices on different strains? What makes one better than another, or I guess more costly?
So we do not base our pricing on strains. We have a set pricing across the board. So all of our eighths grown at Curaleaf are $40 an eighth. not including tax. And then if we sell third-party flower, we tend to go up a little bit more in price, but all of our Curaleaf strains are the same price throughout all of the dispensaries in Massachusetts.
Awesome. And for you, Jacob, what goes into the decisions, or I guess the process of picking different flowers? Like if you're given seeds, I imagine it's not just, random luck that one grows and you have a plant. How does the process of selecting plants go for you?
It gets pretty in depth. Originally, before we even purchase a seed, we want to see, because everything right now is kind of crossed, which is basically one strain matched with another strain, and then it will produce a seed that way. So you want something that is going to be vigorous. It's going to produce a large yield or a decent amount of yield that fits like your grow room. It's not the same as growing at your house, because then you can kind of do whatever you want and you can cater to that plant. Here, we're looking for a plant that's not too finicky, but is also going to give the customer what they want. So it comes down to phenos, and that's where it gets a little complicated, but it's a very in-depth process. And eventually it makes its way to the dispensary, but in the beginning it takes a while. We're actually going through that process right now, and I think we have a room with about 2,000 plants that we're selecting. So it gets a little crazy.
That sounds awesome. So for our audience members that are at home and dreaming about growing their own cannabis, I guess what advice would you give? What resources? What to expect as far as like costs?
So in the beginning, I would definitely suggest outdoors, just because it's a lot easier to drop a seed in and kind of see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to do the indoor thing, you're gonna want lights. You're gonna want a tent. You're gonna want a place where you can control your climate. And then from there on, it gets a little complicated because you can't exactly go out and buy seeds. So you have to do a little research online and find the seed you prefer. And we can't really help with that part, but yeah.
And is someone expecting to spend like $10 million on this, or is it $5, or what's the sort of price range that it costs people? Depends
on how high quality you want the product to be. I'd suggest spending around in between 500 and 1,000. Mm-hmm. It's a chunk pricey, but after that you will save money.
And is that something which is like a one-time deal, or you can continue growing with that?
For the most part, you'll get your money's worth back for sure.
Awesome. And if for that person, out in who knows where, who says, "Oh my God, this is the world's best cannabis. Curaleaf needs to sell this." What are the options for them? I actually get this patient a lot, where someone thinks that they have the best weed and they just want to get it, on the market.
As far as that goes, we can't really do anything. We can't bring in any outsourced plants like that, but it's good to have. They can hold on to it. They can keep it in a veg room or a clone room, and if they never flower it, they'll have them forever. So.
And I guess related to that, I mean, it's mostly in jest, but related to that, I've noticed that a bunch of different dispensaries sometimes have the same name strain, and that becomes very confusing for people, obviously, because the plants might be totally different, the phenotypes might be totally different, the genetics might be completely different. Is there a pool of communication, I guess, between dispensaries to say, hey, we're all buying the same seed, or are they all potentially very different?
I think they're all very different. Sadly, with the regulations and everything, you're kind of limited to what you can write on the label. So they're not writing the pheno, they're not writing where the seed's coming from. And then on top of that, even if they are writing the pheno, you don't really know. That doesn't mean anything to you. I could write a 6 next to that number, and it could mean something to someone else completely different.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Another question. What about male and female plants? What's the difference, and how can you tell them apart if you grow your own?
So male and female, you pretty much don't want to grow male if you're looking for yield or like any type of like desirable flower for yourself. But if you wanted to produce seeds, then you would want the male and the female in the same tent, something like that. And then as far as, what was the second part of that question? Sorry.
I mean, it's just talking about how do you tell them apart. So if you have a plant.
Oh, yeah. So basically the male produces a round ball-like substance at what we call a node, which is where the branches come from. And once you see that, if you don't want the male, you pretty much kill it right there.
Slaughter it as quickly as you can.
Yes, because if you do it in flower, it can ruin everything.
It's interesting commonalities in our species as well. How do you control the climate? What type of climate does cannabis grow in when it's indoors? Do all seeds require the same treatment in order to grow? These are awesome questions.
So as far as seeds go, you're going to germinate them in the beginning. It's a very simple process, but what I like to do is just drop them in water, give them a day, they'll sink down, and then you kind of give them a moist environment between 70 and 80 degrees, and you'll start to see them pop out of the seed.
Okay, I'm sure we're gonna have people watching this video who are like, okay, I need a lesson with Jacob. How do I learn more? Do you guys have programs at Curaleaf where you're opening your doors to the public? Do you have sort of outreach programs where people can learn more about you guys? Certainly with growing, but in general?
At the moment, I don't believe so, but I know a lot of this information, like what I learned around 18, it was all online. So if you do your research and you just verify what you're reading with more research, you will be on the right track.
On that note, just a sort of shameless plug, Seed has a library of hundreds of grow books and resources. That's all free and free to search and read. So anybody who's interested can go through our website to find that stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah, Googling also works. All right. So this one's a simple question. How do people get in touch with you? So do you have social media? Do you have sort of website resources? How do people learn kind of what's for sale?
Yeah, so we have a lot of ways they can get in touch with us. We are on Facebook, so we are on social media. We do have a Curaleaf Massachusetts page. We do have a Massachusetts Curaleaf community page. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper into cannabis and you don't want it to be on a public space where everyone's going to see, we have kind of a community of people who, you know, are kind of connoisseurs or want to see the new products, and they'll kind of chime in on what products they offer or they like or they use, and kind of get the conversation going with people who might be new. We do have all of our products available on our website. So if you go to cureleaf.com, it'll kind of geotag your location and it'll put the closest dispensary. So we are have an adult use store in Ware. Oxford is adult use and medical use. Hanover is medical use. And then we also are in Provincetown year round, and that is adult use. So you can select whichever one is closest to you, or if you're out of state and you want to see if there's one closer to you, and if it's adult use or medical, it'll let you know. And you can go through all of our products there. They're listed through flower. It'll say pre-rolls, edibles. It'll list, you know, brand. It'll show you a product picture. And then the THC level, it'll all be on there. And if it's ever missing, you could always call into the dispensary and they can give you like real-time test results for like a batch that just came in.
Awesome. That's huge. It's important for people to have that kind of transparency and access. That's great.
Yeah.
Someone says, is the Select brand the same Select as I've seen in California? Are you guys affiliated with that brand? I know that there's a Select company which sells products in California. Is that the same product? Are you guys?
Yep, it's the same brand that is in California. It was very popular out west, and we have just put it in our stores recently, and it's been doing very well in Massachusetts as well.
Great. That's I presume a licensing agreement. They're not shipping you products across the state, right? They give you the magic recipe and you get to make them here?
Correct. All of the Select products use our Curaleaf oil to make their products. So it is, you know, Curaleaf and Select are very intertwined.
They're buddy anyway. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
What changes have you guys established or seen for COVID?
Just at the dispensary level, we have a lot of social distancing guidelines in place right now. We have a very limited occupancy in all of our dispensaries. We also have social distancing spots for everyone to stand on. We have sneeze guards in place, and all of our patients, customers, and employees are all required to wear masks when entering the building. So we do have, you know, changed quite a few things since COVID has started, but it's all for the better for everybody to be safe.
Yeah, sure. The whole culture is going through a little adjustment. Another question about lab testing. Do you guys test every product? What do you test for? What's required?
I know some of that. So we test every product, obviously, and then I know it goes, like I said before, in-house, and we also ship it out. and we break it down to the THC level, the CBD level, and I think it gets more in depth after that. And that's where you can see on the label in the dispensary all the different cannabinoids that are in there.
Mm-hmm. And Christina, you were saying that if people have other questions, they can always call and get the exact results for the product that they've purchased. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. 95% of the time we'll have it updated there, but sometimes when we get like third party flour or ingredients, it doesn't always come over to our website. So we do get questions. People will call in and ask, what the levels are, and they can just pull it right off of the batch, the label number, and they read it off and let them know.
Mm-hmm. Some of our audience might not know, Jacob sort of walked through this, but every stage of every product, from seed to sapling to mature to the product that's packaged to the product we buy at the store, is all tracked incredibly closely and meticulously by the government here.
Yeah, we go through something called metric. It's I believe it's in multiple states, but basically every single plant that reaches, I think, 7 to 8 inches has to be tracked for its entire growth. Even once you kill it, you have to record it. You have to weigh out the waste that was killed, basically. So it's from seedling all the way to the end cycle. It's getting tracked.
That's why we see all those cultivators with 6-inch plants in their black trench coat running out of the dispensaries.
Exactly.
Right. Awesome. So it looks like our time is winding down. Any other last questions from the audience? Looks like we've drained social media dry for now. Here's one. Christina, what are your 3 favorite products in every category?
Chocolates are my favorite, the ones Kristen was mentioning earlier, but we have our own chocolates launching that are super good next week. So I think you guys should give those a try. The nano gummies. And then after that, I would say the select vapes. They're really good, faster acting, very smooth. You don't get necessarily that cough right away, like it's more smoother than your normal vape. I mean, they are #1 in the nation for a reason. They're really good. So I would say those are my favorite, top 3.
Awesome. Jacob, do you have any favorites?
I'm a big fan of pre-rolls. And then after that, definitely the vapes. And then I'll dabble every now and then with the edibles.
Yeah, I'm going to say pre-rolls too, just because I'm not good at rolling. And I just they're either too tight or they're too loose. So sometimes it's nice to just go and get some, or we have these really cool VCP, they're 5-pack. So if you don't want to, do a whole pre-roll, they're small, and, you can just use one. If, you want to share one with your friend who's 21 and older, you can do that as well. So you don't feel like you're committing to a whole, pre-roll. That we have little minis that also work out.
Like a sample pack, is that what that is?
It's your 5, almost half the size mini of a normal pre-roll, and then it gives back to the veteran community. It's $1 for each one, goes to the Mass Fallen Heroes. So you get a little bit for yourself, but then you also give back to our veterans to help them get, access to cannabis. Awesome.
Kristen, do you have any favorites?
I'm going to go with Jacob as well. I'm definitely into the pre-rolls right now. And then after that, it's probably vapes. The select vapes are my favorite right now. And then also the select gummies are on top of my list.
Okay, good. Awesome. So inevitably, actually, around the discussion of vapes, this topic brings up all the craziness that we dealt with as a culture a couple months ago before the pandemic. Just so people are unquestionably clear, the vape crisis was really a matter of counterfeit products, stuff that's cooked up on the street with people who don't know really what they're doing, adding additives which don't belong, or were thought to be harmless. Vitamin E acetate, for example, is actually a normal non-toxic compound when it's eaten, but we don't generally put things into our lungs, which we eat. And that was an unfortunate oversight. We haven't had illnesses from products that are made from dispensaries. I was actually part of the team helping the local government understand the difference between what is right and what is not right. And I think stuff from dispensaries should not concern people as far as their health and their well-being, provided it's used the way that it should be used. Just throw that caveat out there. Another question, it's like our last question for this evening. Can you explain nano? How small are these things? Or what does nano mean? Christina, I wonder if that's for you. Or maybe
I'm
it's
gonna let Kristen get in more details there because she had to educate me on the full nano experience.
awesome. Kristen?
So a nano gummy just means that it's water soluble. So it goes through your digestive system just a little bit faster. So the onset can be about 30 to 45 minutes instead of, an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's just the way that it goes through your body. And it gives you a much faster effect than a regular gummy would. So we do hear from quite a few people that they are very popular right now. We get a lot of requests for the nano gummies. They have a greater effect than the regular gummies do. So they tend to be quite popular with all of our customers and patients.
I'll teach you guys and whoever happens to be watching a sneak trick. The part of the way that our digestive system works is when you consume oil and you also consume fat soluble or oil soluble compounds like cannabinoids, they can sneak in a little bit faster. And all of us have built in a system where if you have an oily product at the same time as a cannabis product, it can actually sneak in and not only work faster, but last longer. So, for what you were talking about, water solubility is one way in, but actually with tagging along fat is a faster and better way for cannabinoids to get in. Just maybe that's a little pearl for people who get to the end of the video. Awesome. So thank you guys for joining. This was awesome to get a better understanding of Curaleaf. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way, or what are the options for the public?
Yeah, if they want to get in touch, well, let me just say too, we also have these wonderful blogs on our website that really go in depth about nano technology, what to expect. We put also information on there about our select products, our soon-to-be chocolate products. So if you ever really want to get really in depth with it, you want to see the technology, hear about the technology behind it, we like to put in a nice little blog post that you can read with more detailed information and how about the extraction works and how the effects in your body work a little sooner, what are the chemicals and ingredients behind it. So you can always go to curaleaf.com and pull up our blogs and find out all the information on those new products coming out. If you're interested in reaching out to us, depending on where you are in the state, you're more than welcome to call our dispensary if you have any questions. If not, you can go onto our website and sign up for our emails where we can send you information on new product drops, texts on if we have any discounts or sales, or you can reach out to us on our email that's also available on our website.
Super. All right. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. And I look forward to, seeing you guys again.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.